In this video, I'm going to show you how to go ahead and use the Makerbot Replicator Plus with the SmartExtruder Plus. And this video is meant to work in conjunction with the previous video that shows how to use the online Makerbot slicer. Here, I'm removing the build plate from the Makerbot to remove the tape that was previously used. The reason you use tape is to help the project stick better to the build plate. Now, here we've got green frog tape, and this does work, but ideally you would want to use something like blue painter's tape. The adhesive and the texture are a little bit different, which means it's a little bit easier to clean up and you get less of the gouges that you can see in the old tape here. And now we're going to be reapplying some new tape. Notice when I put the tape on here in a moment, that I'm going to be flattening it out and peeling it up as necessary where it gets air bubbles and re-flattening out. And the reason for this is so that your build comes out level and that you don't have any defects. Your print is going to have a raft or a base of some sort, and everything is based off of that. So if you have a defect here, like you can see on the right, that I'm going to take care of in just a moment and try and smooth out, and down the middle apparently, that's going to cause your whole build to be off. Now, this piece of tape at the back is probably not going to be involved unless it's a large project or I move it to one side of the build plate. But it just goes to show you want to try and do this all the way across. So we'll finish putting the tape on here, and then I'll show you the next part. And now we're just going to go ahead and slide the build plate back on. If you notice, there were some slotted holes there. That is so that the pieces on the bottom can slide in. So now I'm going to go ahead and take that thumb drive I created earlier and put it into the USB port on the front. And I'm going to go ahead and select print. I'm going to select USB storage, as you can see here. And it does take a second for it to read that storage because of the USB port speeds on this machine. Now you can see the different projects in here. I'm going to select a project. And I'm going to hit print. It's a little hard to see in this video, but those are the directions on the screen. Now it's going to take two stages of heating. The first one is to get it up to a basic temperature. And then you're going to go ahead and see it here where it's going to find an alignment point on the board. Now, if you go back earlier in the video, you'll see that there are two holes cut in the back side of this build plate, and the printer actually uses those to punch through the injector ever so slightly so that it can make sure it homes in on the correct spot on this build plate. And there we go. It's moving into position. Now we're in the final heating stage. This is that second part of heating where it is coming up to full temperature to melt the filament material and extrude it out, kind of like you would do with a hot glue gun, except a little bit more precise. This part does take a little while here, so we'll let this go, and then I'll come back to you when we hit the next section of the video. We're coming up here, we're going to have a time lapse of a project that's built into these Makerbots that you can do. It's a great way to test them out. I couldn't show you the project before because I was getting some filament slips and jams, which we'll go over in a different video. Here you're going to see it print out a 200 by 200 mil box. And at the end, I'm going to be removing this from the tape with what's called a spudger. You can use a spudger. I would recommend something like a paint scraper or a putty knife to remove the project from the print bed here. And once you're done doing that, you can actually take the raft portion, which is just a little breakaway piece of plastic off the bottom for support, take that off, and then replace the tape. And there we go. There's our project.